Yo, hey, how y'all doing? This Rick Sincere with MTMV Sports, man. I'm so blessed to be joined by my man Willdris Ruffin. Y'all, listen, if you know anything about the voice, you know he's probably gonna hate seeing wrestling being talked about on the main card. But there's something going on in wrestling right now that we just cannot allow to go on without getting some insight from our guy Willdris Ruffin. So, I mean, without further ado, I gotta hear from you. Willdris, talk to me about what's going on, bro, with The Rock joining the Bloodline.
Oh man, it's interesting how this is played out. Now, for years since Roman Reigns' tribal chief character took over, this is something that wrestling fans have been clamoring for. The Rock versus Roman Reigns, literally the biggest WrestleMania match possible. What happened is a little bit different. As everybody knows, the thing that's been going on the past 2 years has been Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes finishing his story at WrestleMania. Now, last year, he was defeated by Roman Reigns with the help from the Bloodline, and this entire year has literally been a story about Cody coming back up, getting back to WrestleMania, and finishing the story. Now, with The Rock's recent role being added to the board of TKO, it was talked about giving them the opportunity to finally finish the story between The Rock and Roman, which is something, of course, people have been asking for years. But at the same token, with The Rock's schedule, you kind of have to look at it as when the time is right, the time has to be now. And The Rock is literally 51 years old. He's getting older. There's not too many more matches that he actually has coming. I can actually see him going into the WWE Hall of Fame within the next 2 years. So when this opportunity was literally presented, it was almost like, yeah, the Cody Crybabies. When the opportunity was presented, there was a thought process, of course, that wrestling fans would be excited. But if you don't know how the internet wrestling community is, there were a lot more people who hated the idea of Rock coming in and taking over for Cody. So, of course, you have the back and forth that goes on. You had the Las Vegas WrestleMania event that happened where you actually kind of saw, and if you pay attention to the little small nuances, you saw The Rock not only turn heel, but you saw Roman Reigns actually begin to play the back almost as if he kind of took to The Rock being the tribal chief among them. Now, in real life and not kayfabe, the one thing you have to realize is that The Rock is in real life a high chief. He was actually given this honor in Hawaii in 2004. Now, this is actually a big deal within the Samoan community, and it has a lot to do with what you do and what you give back to your Samoan community all throughout. So this is a real honor that The Rock has. But if you saw during that event, the Las Vegas event was amazing. But if you saw during that event, when Cody and The Rock began to go at it, and you saw The Rock and Roman come together, you saw little bits and pieces of literally the Roman playing the back for the first time, which is almost something that you saw Jay doing for Roman previously. So now, with the recent SmackDown episode that aired last Friday, many wrestling fans, including myself, you kind of pay attention to the in-between. Now, one thing that The Rock promised was we're going to get a story. And if you listen to what he says in the promo when he talks, the first thing he says is, Cody, your story is finishing and ours is beginning. Now, if you ask me, and this is my personal thought, and you can actually see a lot of these thoughts also with a lot of others, it almost seems now like The Rock has infiltrated the bloodline with the idea of literally destroying them from the inside out, which if this plays out the way I believe it will, we could see Cody finally finishing this story at WrestleMania and possibly seeing The Rock and Roman face off for the true tribal chief leadership at SummerSlam.
So, okay, I got a few clarifying questions for people who love The Rock but have not been keeping up with what's going on with wrestling, right? You see The Rock go on go on ESPN, right? Get a chance to do an interview, and you heard him talk about, like Thomas is saying here, the Cody crybabies, right? He's like, Cody gotta finish the story. Like, baby, you want to go have sex? No, Cody gotta finish the story. probably one of my favorite from him in a while, right? But you get a chance to hear that stuff from The Rock. But what does it mean, bro, for Cody to finish the story? What is that?
Cody finishing the story is a journey that literally began with his father, the great Dusty Rhodes, decades ago. Many people who don't know, if you don't follow Dusty Rhodes or Cody Rhodes like that, Dusty Rhodes is literally one of probably a Mount. I'm not gonna say probably. He's a Mount Rushmore of a person of professional wrestling, and this is not just inside the ring. This is inside the ring. If you think about your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, they were either trained by Dusty, they came under or mentored under Dusty, or they admired Dusty for what he was. Now, at one point, Dusty Rhodes actually won the WWF World Championship. This actually happened in Madison Square Garden, I believe in the 70s. However, it was actually taken from him. For Cody Rhodes, his first run with WWE, it kind of saw it end bad, of course, with Stardust, which is something that a lot of us don't want to remember. And then Cody actually leave in to go to the Indies and create AEW. And then, of course, the excitement when he showed up at WrestleMania 2 years ago to come back to WWE. So the focus now about finishing the story is Cody's desire to hold the title that his father was supposed to hold, that his family has never truly held. And when you consider the fact of all that the Rhodes family has done for professional wrestling, this is a huge story. And of course, everyone wants to see it. But if you're a Roman Reigns fan, you're torn because Roman Reigns' run right now is one of the greatest of all time. And the story with the bloodline over the last few years has been amazing. It's been cinema. We've even gotten to see Jey Uso literally become a real main event person, with shout out to Triple H and Monday Night Raw, because last night we almost saw him actually win the Intercontinental title, which was a title that his father actually held, Rikishi, back in the early 2000s during the Attitude Era. But Cody Rhodes finishing his story literally means him winning the big title at WrestleMania and finishing what he set out to come back to do. And this is not something that everybody does. WrestleMania is such a huge spectacle. Everyone doesn't get the main event. And even with 2 nights now, everyone still doesn't have the opportunity to main event. So for the biggest story in WWE right now, this is an amazing story to tell no matter what happens. And I think it's going to play out a lot differently than people originally thought. And I'm excited to see it.
Was The Rock joining the Bloodline the original plan, or do you believe WWE pivoted based on the crowd's reaction?
It's one thing is I hate to speculate, but I will say if the original plans were for The Rock to face Roman Reigns, I believe that actually only ended up being a thought after CM Punk went down, because CM Punk was originally going to face Seth Rollins for the championship on Raw. But when CM Punk went down, I think a lot of the plans kind of went awry. And shout out to Drew McIntyre, because he's been a big part of this cog and everything that's happening with his heel run and his t-shirt design and everything. So I think originally the plan probably was for The Rock and Roman to actually go at it, and then Cody go at it with Seth Rollins. But the fans are playing a much bigger role in this regime. Triple H not only listens to the fans, he pays attention to what he's seeing on social media. And Triple H, and this is no knock on the previous regime, Triple H is a fans wrestler. He's somebody who pays attention, who plays into it. He tells amazing stories, and his creative control has been heralded, from what you're seeing now, from the camera shots to the stories to the people who are getting their shots to the people coming up from NXT and actually seeing them succeed. So it's an amazing story to tell. The pivot, I believe, is actually what happened. And with the pivot, I believe that they're actually still playing into the fact that Roman and Rock have a story to tell. I think Rock's desire is literally to prove that point. But the heel run that was started, if you're a big wrestling fan, you realize Rock coming out in that $500 Versace vest is literally a combination of Hollywood Rock and Rock from the Attitude Era literally combined. And fans, not only he's a guy that you love to hate, but you can almost sense and see the way that this is playing out, that it's going to be a bigger story, a part of the bloodline. And it's something we've enjoyed over the past few years, whether it be the story told with Sami Zayn, the story told with Jey Uso, or any of the other stories in between, because they all have been great. But it's been cinematic, and you got to give that to probably The Rock, Paul Heyman, and Triple H, and Roman Reigns, of course. But Paul Heyman he's an amazing storyteller, man.
Now that The Rock has joined the bloodline, right? Like, he's out there now. He's a part of the bloodline. What does that mean? And what will we see in the coming weeks?
It means you literally have the biggest faction possibly that can rival in history, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be long. I think over the next couple weeks, you're going to see Rock play into it. I think you're going to see Rock get closer and closer to Roman and get that trust. But I also think you're going to begin to see a little dissent. I think eventually you're going to see Jay and maybe Solo or even Paul begin to look more to The Rock as the leader of the group. And I think that's going to set up an ultimate story where eventually, when Roman does lose that title to Cody, which I think is going to be due to The Rock, I think that is going to be an even bigger story, because then we get to see another side of the tribal chief character without that title. Now, Rikishi's not going to squash it. I would love to see Rikishi to play a part in the story, but I think Rikishi is actually going to play more of a part in the Jay and Jimmy situation that's actually going to play out probably into WrestleMania, because if you saw last Monday night, Jay was this close to being Intercontinental Champion, and then Jimmy, of course, came in to let him know, hey, I'm still the big brother. So you have a bunch of stories going on right now in the bloodline, but I think over the next few weeks, you're going to see Rock kind of play more into Roman's feelings of him being the champion and him being dominant and him being supportive.
So you think eventually, because we saw The Rock, how he destroyed the Nation of Domination. Like, we saw the role he played in that, right? Like, we saw how he came up through the ranks, became that dude, right? Like, he was kind of an up-and-comer at that point. I don't know if he playing the role of Farouk in this case, but I feel like he has the ability to destroy the bloodline as well, which you're saying right now. He's going to destroy the bloodline from the inside out. Do you think at the end of the day that we're going to get Rock versus Roman Reigns like they originally planned?
Now, The Rock didn't destroy the Nation of Domination. The Rock ended up turning into a babyface, and Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown just didn't like it, and that was a part of the story, so that they could end up breaking it up, because they were still together after Rock left and started chasing the championship. But as far as Rock and Roman, I do believe that we're going to get it. I think the perfect place for us to get it is SummerSlam. There's been talks that literally Roman is probably going to be wrapping up and probably going to Hollywood a little bit sooner. So we may end up seeing Roman slowly kind of begin to take on that John Cena role where he's around less and less. I'm not sure exactly when or how that's going to play out, but the writing is kind of on the wall. I think the ultimate goal was just for Roman to be able to overtake Hulk Hogan's record, to actually move up. I think he's still going to be behind Bob Backlund. Is on the tip of my tongue.
Bruno
Sammartino, and I think there's one other person that he's still going to be behind in that top five. But I think the goal is for him to overtake Hulk Hogan, which would actually play right into WrestleMania. And then once he loses that title at WrestleMania, I think we begin to get the long-term story that Rock told us that we were going to get, where they end up facing off at SummerSlam, and then that being the end of it. Because I see Rock actually going off into the sunset, but wanting to do this with his family is something that they've talked about. Even on Young Rock a couple years ago, they kind of gave us little snippets of it possibly happening. So it's amazing for professional wrestling. And the thing about Rock and Roman is you don't need a world title to make this rivalry work. This rivalry works by itself, and it's rare that you're able to do that and that to be a main event of the show.
Yo, listen, I just wanted to do this, man. We had to do it. There's just too much hot stuff going on right now in the world of wrestling, so we had to get this done. Thank you so much for doing this, Willdris. We were supposed to do this maybe weeks ago when The Rock first came back, right? However, it's getting done right now. Shout out to Timeless for being here. Shout out to the people who joined us on Facebook Live. We're gonna drop this, y'all. And look, when it gets too hot, we bringing Willdris back. It's just what
No
it is.
doubt.
It's just
No
what
doubt.
it
Now,
is, yo.
Before we close, I want to make sure people, if you get a chance, make sure you're checking out NXT. That's on Tuesday nights. That is an amazing show. Upcoming wrestlers and individuals. That's run by Shawn Michaels, who's doing an amazing job down there. And also a WWE Elimination Chamber is actually going to be happening this weekend. Now it's going to be happening in Australia, so you got to get up at 5 a.m. to watch if you want to see it live. That's going to have some amazing matches that are also going to play into the WrestleMania story. So you got the 2 Elimination Chamber matches with the women. I think Drew is going to be the favorite there for the men. I think for the women, I think that's probably going to be, I want to say Bianca Belair is going to win that one. Then, of course, you have the main event, which I believe is going to be Rhea Ripley, who's from Australia. She's an NXT alumni, and she's going to be facing off against Nia Jax. I think we're going to see the end of Judgment Day begin to take place in the Undisputed Tag Team match because Damian Priest still has that briefcase, and Cody Rhodes is going to continue to tell the story when he actually appears on the Grayson Waller Effect with Seth Rollins. So make sure you all tune in and make sure you keep following MTMV, man. We'll make sure that we share this with y'all.
Yo, I love the voice. The voice said, get your own overlays, man. This ain't no wrestling show. Voice, I tried to tell him, bro. I tried to tell him, but he was insistent.
Hey, boys, I got coercion doing this, man. You know, I'm already doing enough, too many shows as is, man. But it's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you get your questions in. We're always happy to answer questions. And make sure you tune in to the main card on Tuesday nights, man. Get your questions in there, too. We'll answer those questions in between.
For sure. We appreciate you so much, man. Thank you, voice. Look, we do this for y'all, man. Shout out to Timeless. We did this for you, my guy. Right? We had to do it. We appreciate you supporting our show, man. And we know what you want to hear about. So we knocked it out the park. Willdris Ruffin, man. If you want to talk about wrestling at all, Willdris Ruffin is your guy. And we're gonna take the voice's advice and get him his own overlays and all that kind of stuff and make it dope for him. But yeah, it'll only be these 10 minutes to 15 minutes joints, man, because Willdris is on the full 94 on Mondays. He's on the main card on Tuesdays. So we're not going not going to stress him out too much. This ain't ESPN. But at the same time, we did want to show some love, man. God bless y'all. We love y'all. We out.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just